in business, there isn't a lot of conversations around history filters. And what do I mean by history filters? History filters are when you learn something new and it goes through your history. You think about it, okay, have I encountered this in the past? And either you accept or reject. If it fits in with your world vision of how you see the world, you accept it as fact. If it doesn't fit, you tend to reject it. Let me explain further. If I were to ask 1,000 people to read the same book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, one of my favorite books, if we all read that book at the same time, line by line, word by word, we are going to get 1,000 interpretations of that book, because that book is going to be absorbed through your history filters, and you're going to modify each word or each sentence or each phrase to make it fit into the world you believe, right? For example, someone might say, pay-per-click campaigns are great for your business. And your history filter is going to say, well, no, it's not, because I tried it, it didn't work, and I lost a lot of money. So you're going to reject that statement. Or you're going to accept other statements, but you're never going to say, well, maybe pay-per-click campaigns do work, I just didn't do it well enough, or I didn't get expert advice, or I didn't get expert help. We don't do that, right? So as part of a little experiment, I always talk about, creating the need. Every successful business has to be very good at creating the need for their product and service. They have to be great. They have to have a program to create the need. For example, I'm sitting in a kitchen, and I'm sure there's millions of kitchens around North America that should have been renovated 20 or 30 years ago, because nobody created the need. Why they want a new kitchen? The kitchen has never been renovated. So from my perspective, the kitchen industry is failing its consumers because they're not really creating the need. What company comes to mind that is really great at creating the need? What companies are really great at showing before and after videos, right? How many, kitchen companies create or talk about quality of life based on, how much time your family spends in a beautiful kitchen, and so on. So going back to creating the need, I would say 90% or 80% of my videos talk about creating the need. And yet when I asked some of my students to start building a business blueprint and start using some of these leverage tools to create an unfair advantage for the business, none of them talked about creating the need, which means most of them say, Leo, I've watched all your videos. And it's gone through their history filter and it's been rejected, right? So I'm really at a loss here, because I'm trying to help people in what works, but what works is what's different from businesses. If you're going to reject everything that's different, then how can you create a successful business? Think about that for a second. And we all do this, and I'm sure I do it as well. If we reject anything that's different, and it's the difference that makes a successful business, how are we ever going to have a successful business? Please think about that. Because people pay me to help them redesign their business, but every time we talk about something that's different from what they're doing, they reject it. But yet they say they want a successful business. But really what they're saying is they want a successful business in the way they're doing it. They want a successful business in the way they design their current business. Even though they're not making any money, even though they're technically bankrupt, they still want a successful business as long as they don't have to change, right? And that holds true for many, thousands of examples. And this is where most people start sabotaging. And they say, yes, I want to change. Leo, I'll do whatever it takes to have a successful business. I'll do whatever it takes to start building generational wealth. I'll do whatever it takes. But what they really mean is, Leo, I'll do whatever it takes to design a successful business as long as I don't have to change. As long as I don't have to go to the unknown territory. But here's the problem. Success is in the unknown territory. It is. Because if it was in a territory or your backyard, you would already be successful. So in order to be successful, sometimes we have to do the opposite of what we're currently doing. The brain can't comprehend that. The brain cannot accept that. The ego cannot accept that. And there lies the problem. So how do I reach people? And I've had conversations like this with most of my clients. And I always tell them, at some point you're going to start sabotaging. Oh, no, never. I would never do that. But yet, either they quit the process before they start sabotaging because they're starting to get into uncomfortable territory, or they physically start sabotaging. If you watch some of my videos, I talk about how an HVAC company started sabotaging his own company so he didn't have to change, to a point where he lost 50% of his employees. Sorry, I'm not making a fair statement. You're not understanding. I'm not giving you enough background. The owner of that company made promises to me and his employees that he was going to change. Then he started making those changes. He spoke to his pastor saying, I just gave control of my company to somebody else, namely me, as an interim CEO. And the pastor says, well, why would you give somebody else control of your company? That makes no sense. Then we had a confrontation, and I found out about this because one of his employees came to me and said, this is what's happening behind the scenes. And I said, you're getting contradictory advice, and either you listen to your pastor or you listen to me. Yeah, but Leo, he's my pastor. I have to listen to him. And then I asked, well, how much knowledge does he have around business? How many businesses has your pastor designed and sold? Well, none. He's my pastor. Then why are you getting business advice from your pastor? All right. And it came to a head. I said, it's either him or me, right? Keep him as your pastor, but he cannot give you business advice because he's contradicting what I'm saying. And you're being pulled into two different directions, and that can't be comfortable for you. So you need to make a decision. Well, I can't get rid of my pastor. I didn't ask you to get rid of your pastor. I said you have to stop listening to him when it comes to business advice. I mean, if you want to bring in another management consultant and, talk about business advice, that's fine. At least he has some training. But your pastor has no business training. So he has no business talking to you about business. He knows nothing about business. It's like a single priest giving you marital advice. It makes no sense, right? So he just couldn't get beyond that. And I said, well, one of us has to go. And then I said, is that your final answer? And I said, okay, you're fired as a client. And as soon as news got around that he was no longer delivering on his promises, 50% of his employees quit within a couple of days. 3 weeks later, he was bankrupt. So, history filters. If we don't know what's going on up here and what's working against you, should we know what's going on? And should we research some of the things that are sabotaging our own companies? Please post your questions, comments below. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And have you thought about history filters? Thank you.